I'm Talib Visram, and this is World Changing Ideas, where we investigate how leading innovators are solving our most challenging issues. On today's episode, Reinventing Footwear, I'll be talking to David Python and Fernando Porto from Brazilian shoe brand Cariuma. Well, thank you so much both for being here.
Absolutely, our pleasure. Thanks for inviting us.
Yes, thank you, Talib.
An honor.
Awesome. Well, let's talk about the very beginning. So tell us how Cariuma came to be. I heard that it started on a snowboarding trip.
Yes, precisely. So I would say like the first memory we record is definitely the snowboarding trip. We went to Chile with the families, and I think was really, I was actually seeing an engineer like David, with the background that I knew about him, coming like, 100 kilometers per hour down a hill. And it was almost like, okay, so this is the guy that's supposed to be my partner, right? But I think it's like, is where we really decided to join forces and start Cariuma. And it was something that was very important for us because we knew that we wanted to be partners, even though we didn't know exactly what was going to be, right? So there's a sentence we use a lot in the company that we always start with who, right? And I think we came from, a little before that, right? We came from a common pain, I would say, of leaving our executive positions in a large corporation, where we felt like it was kind of a toxic culture where we work at. And also we're not really proud of the practices of that place, right? So we felt like, okay, we really wanted to work in a better place, in a better company. And at some point we felt like, okay, maybe we're gonna have to build it, right? So we come from the industry, right? I'm in fashion and footwear for over 20 years now, David, almost 15. And we realized that the cool classic sneaker category would make sense for us to start, right? We would start from there for many reasons. But at that time, and I think still today, consumers were made to choose between style or comfort, and mainly from big corporations that, in our point of view, didn't really care about the practices or things like that. So in a way, we felt like we could be that first ever like cool classic sneaker brand that would be very comfortable and consciously made, right? And this this tripod of style, comfort, and sustainability should be our main positioning and what would enable us to steal market share from the big guys and get in the market with a strong position.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the shoe and particularly the EB shoe, which we featured before in Fast Company. Why is that your signature shoe?
Talib, I think the EB is a signature shoe for sure because it really represents what Cariuma is about, because we are all about products that are good looking, that are super comfy, and that are consciously made. So we don't make our customers choose or trade off between any of those. And if you think of the EB, it's a product that we launched and we are constantly improving, and that generated the lowest carbon footprint sneaker ever launched. So right now, the times that we're living, for us, it had a tremendous meaning, because in 2020, what we're living with COVID and etc., we're all having getting more in touch with the stuff that we have, the meaning that the products we consume, the brands that we join, that they have to us. In a very mundane way, we're getting in touch more with the trash that we generate. And when we come and really revamp what a sneaker can bring, and achieving such an important milestone as that, for us, it was a tremendous milestone for the brand, and really incorporated what Fernando mentioned, that initial impulse from a snowboarding trip of building a better company for the people and for the planet.
Yeah. Obviously, part of the sustainable aspect is the materials that you build the shoe from, right? So, you know, your shoes include bamboo and sugarcane and cork and, you know, a lot of materials you wouldn't expect to find in a shoe. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, generally where you source these materials from?
I think like we really understand the process of transforming a raw material into the final product. And that's an important part of when you really understand what happens there, it becomes easier for you to go after replacements of other raw materials on things that could replace a different fiber, that could replace a final material, and go after that, right? So I think it's more like trying to understand not only on the sustainability side, but also on the performance side, and ideally trying to match both, right? Performance and sustainability with lower impact. So when we talk about bamboo as an example that you mentioned, in design school in Rio, there was an actual design laboratory for researching bamboo, okay, in the university called PUC Rio in Brazil. Mm-hmm. And I actually took that class when I was 17 years old. And I learned back then that bamboo was considered a super material. And what that means is the only material in the world that is very strong and resistant, really light, and flexible. So usually you're not gonna find those three properties in the same material. You may find something that is light and flexible. You may find something that is strong and light, but you're never gonna find something that's light, strong, and flexible. So based on those properties and trying to see how can we replace, for example, cotton fiber by bamboo fiber, and that kind of iteration is where we get that, right? But for us, it's not only that, we really try to get always to the tier 3 supplier, right? Which will be the farm where the raw materials come from. If in any case, we may not be able to get there, of course, we're gonna work together with really very reliable certifications that will guarantee not only the origin, but the practice that came of the way. But we make sure we have all the certifications that are FSC certified, Oecotex, and when you go to the organic canvas, for example, also GOTS certified. So I would say it's a mix between understanding the transformation of material so we can replace at some stage, but also make sure we track the origin and how, and the whole process from the farm all the way to the tier 1 manufacturer.
And the materials that you do use that are more traditional, so, you know, leathers and plastics, they're also, you know, so that leathers are ethically sourced and the plastics are recycled. Is that right?
We try to build our materials pipeline and materials library, let's call it this way. You'll be either through natural premium materials or recycled materials. So bio-based, natural premium, or recycled. And this will be for the products, but also for pretty much everything else, right? When you talk about a product card or a packaging or anything, we'll always go either towards the bio-based or the recycled one. And again, always really trying to get to the most reliable certification. In the case of the recycled plastic, as you mentioned, that we started using in the laces, in the shoelaces, then we changed the labels and the threads of the products all to recycled material also, and the packaging. And all these products are going to be global recycle standard certified to make sure we can also track all the process. I'm
really intrigued as to what the kind of lab process is like, kind of walking in and thinking, I'm going to make an insole out of cork and a sole out of sugarcane. I mean, it must take a lot of work, a lot of iterations in getting it perfect, right? Can you talk about the process a little bit?
Yeah, I think like so. So first of all, we of course we need to find the right industrial partner, right? We can never do that like especially when you get to material innovation, you can never get to a material innovation if you don't have a serious, equipped, and strong industrial partner that wants to get there, right? You start from there, right? That's I would say a big challenge, and I think it has to be very clear what your goal is, right? What you want to get out of that, which is if it is to decrease the impact of something, if it is to increase the percentage of a specific material that you want to use, or to improve performance, or whatever it is. And it's a joint effort to develop this new material. But interesting enough, the only way we were able to get there, not only on, for example, the knit that we use on the EB collection, right? That uses bamboo and recycled materials and all that, but also to the rubber that we have, right? So if you look at the outsole rubber that we have the highest possible purity of the rubber. The other 2% that are not is either something that you put on the mold so the rubber doesn't stick, or the color of the rubber that you have to add, right? So, and the way to get there and make sure the product is light, because performance really matters, is something that we did like 25 iterations, I believe.
Wow.
And we only stopped when the vulcanization process of the rubber got to a point that the rubber was not cooking anymore. And then I was talking to the guy in the factory, and it's like, oh, and he's like, oh, this composition didn't cook. And then I said, great, go back one, and that's the approved one. Wow. Because to get there, you really have to stretch the limits, right, to make sure you get to the final result that we want. So if you look at our composition of rubber of all the Oka shoes and Katiba shoes and stuff, you're going to see that it's not only the purest possible, but it's also the lightest possible.
Yeah.
And to get there, it's try and error, try and error, try and error. It's how it works, at least for us.
In Talib, I think it tells a lot on how we think and how we work. We have no fixed date to launch any product. This is really a different mindset that speaks to how we work on a day-to-day, because our goal is to launch a product when we don't have to customers trade off anything. So it's a constant iteration for us to reconcile those different aspects that for us, it's super important for our business as well.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me when reading a lot of reviews of your shoes was, people talk about how comfortable your shoes are. Like you said, that you're not trading off comfort. Is that hard to achieve with the materials you're using, or does it kind of fit naturally with the materials?
Talib, I think it certainly plays to the experience we have in the industry, to the materials we source. But I would say the most important thing is our obsession to listen to customers. And by that, let me give you a few examples. 1 out of 10 customers receive an email from my personal inbox, and I dedicate 2 to 3 hours every day to get back to them. And my simple question is, what do you think about us? Why did you join us? What got most your attention? How's the experience, And people tell me stories on what attracted them to us. And of course, that leads to conversations about the product or improvements or ideas. And those are the small tweaks that make our best sellers be already on the 7th iteration since we launched, So that would be what I think is most unique about how we run business, how we treat our products, because we are just obsessed in listening to feedback.
And similarly, can you talk a little bit about the design of the shoe? I mean, what do you kind of how would you describe the style of your shoe?
No. Okay. I think it's in a very simple way. We're talking about classic sneakers, right? That's the type of design that we aim for. We sometimes actually work backwards in terms of an innovative material or innovative technique or technology that we put in the shoe, and we work towards making it look less futuristic, make it look more vintage, more classic. And I think it's for us is really about building a timeless silhouette, because I think we work in a fast fashion industry before, right? That had like 50,000 new models launched per year, like a crazy frenzy of zero purpose in anything, pretty much, right? That's related to what I mentioned to you about not feeling proud of it, right? And I think like the most sustainable thing you can do when it comes to fashion is to make sure, first of all, the product is durable in terms of quality and time that you can wear and stuff, but also that you are not promoting in terms of silhouette something that is a short-term fashion trend, or the way we call it internally, fashion trend sparks that are not even trends, right? It's just something that happens right now, and today is hot and tomorrow is not, right?
Right.
We have an ethos in the design of the company here, design team, that is like we have to look at the product and ask the question: is this look is still going to be relevant? Are we still going to like and feel comfortable with this silhouette 10 years from now, 20 years from now? If the answer is, I don't know, we shouldn't do it. And an expression we use a lot internally, Talib, and me and David all the time with the team, is that every single decision we make in the company should be towards making the company, building a company that is friends with time.
Yeah, I mean, and on that note, you've just launched a slip-on shoe, which is kind of another classic, right? That's been a couple of years in the making. How does it feel to get that on the market?
That's I would say is a big achievement. The way we see it, it started with the EB that you mentioned before, right? Because a lot of the innovation in terms of material and process started there, from building the bamboo knit to the way to assemble it. But we got to a point where we realized that we really could simplify more. We knew it was not going to be easy, especially because when you build a slip-on, it doesn't stay still and conform in the way that you like to. There's a lot of complexity to that product. And it looks so simple, right? It's one piece on the upper, one piece in the outsole. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's the most complex shoe we ever made to assemble and to put together because of that. Because otherwise it can bend. You can there's a lot of stuff that I have to pay attention to it. So it was pretty much over 2 years process. It is a silhouette that the customers were already asking a lot for that silhouette.
Okay. And if you consider that our mission is to spread positivity while reshaping our industry through the best sustainable products and recovering the environment, the EB slip-on for us is a mark. Less than 3 years old as a company, being able to achieve the lowest carbon footprint shoe ever made at 5.48 kg per pair. It's really something to make us proud of. It also helped us understand that there's no finish line. As Fernando mentioned, this whole journey started when we created the EB lace-up, and we saw that we could simplify. And we have achieved that milestone, and we are ready to beat it. It's not a number for us to put on the wall. It's actually a number for us to go and beat again, and that speaks a lot to our mission.
Can you talk a little bit about the partnership with Native Energy to help conservation in the Amazon rainforest?
Absolutely. As I mentioned, our mission is to spread positivity and reshaping our industry through the best sustainable products while recovering our environment. So what we started with with Native Energy is true to our mission. And it's as a new company, we're also always trying to improve and amplify our impact. So the work together with them really inspired us to be even bolder and be protagonists ourselves in creating our own reforestation project in the rainforest. Mm-hmm. We are beyond reforestation. We are doing ecological restoration. The process that we go, it's beyond planting trees. It's to rebuild native forests and attracting not only and build a forest back, but attracting the fauna back to those pockets of forest that are barely left. So it was tremendously important and inspired us to dream higher, I would say.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about future goals. You've talked about a priority being to make a majority of your products 100% vegan. Can you talk about what that means? You know, what does it mean when we say a product is vegan, you know, versus sustainable? Or
vegan would be like there's no component in anything that comes from animal source, right? No matter what, like you can have anything, even the glue or anything based on that, right? So I would say, interesting enough, like we had a goal to get to the end of this year with 50% of the products sold being vegan. We actually already achieved that last year, right? So the vast majority of the shoes we sell are already 100% vegan, right? And I think that's a very important thing that we're trying to get, but we cannot compromise, right? So as David mentioned, the customer doesn't want to compromise or not have any of the dimensions like durability, quality, performance, price, style, all of that, right? Mm-hmm. So there are still few things related to performance that there's no vegan material that can achieve, right? So that's why we're not 100% or something like this. The one thing we do to get there, Talib, is that we test everything. Like every single material you see out there, or there was an article about a new material made from that fruit or the other one, or from mushroom or from any other possible source, we make sure we get a sample and we make a shoe out of that and we put it to test.
You know, you're obviously not the only company that's making shoes from some of these sustainable materials. You know, I've covered companies like On, Twisted X. They're a handful. Do you see yourselves as competitors of these other companies, or are you kind of all in this together in making the industry more sustainable?
Yeah, we completely see that we're in this together. I would say, Talib, especially when we see what's ahead, like a few years from now, we are in this to become a household name and not, seen as competitors or people that are part of the same movement that we are trying to inspire out there. And even to inspire new fashion entrepreneurs. Me and Fernando, we're personally mentors of other fashion entrepreneurs with the same purpose that we have. That's how we dedicate part of our personal time to help others on the same direction. So completely, and those are people that have inspired us as well. Take the On Running guys. We completely admire them. I had the pleasure to visit them in Zurich, and we are big fans.
And how can you kind of convince the industry as a whole to become more circular? And do you really need the big guns to play, the Nikes and the Adidases to play a role? Growth
for us is not a goal, it's proof. It's proof of where customer attention is, So by launching the world's lowest carbon footprint sneaker ever made, and seeing our About Us page having a tremendous boost in traffic on the same week, for us, that's proof that it's not just about the silhouette. It's not just about the comfort. It's by people wanting to join a better brand, a better company with better values that they associate themselves with. That is actually part of the pain that originated Cariuma to begin with. So we, as Fernando mentioned, we said, oh, maybe we should start a company this way, that we feel good about it and that we're proud of.
But do you feel like you need the buy-in of some of the, big sneaker brands in order for the entire industry to become more sustainable?
If they cared, definitely would be faster. That's for sure. There's no doubt, right? The day one of the big four, the day Nike says like, oh, all the plastic I use is going to be recycled, they will solve a lot of problem, a lot of problem, right? If this becomes like a specification or something. So of course the buying power and the volume changes everything fast, no doubt, right? But as David said, like growing and taking market share from them. And there's a sentence I heard someone saying, the villains are not going to become the heroes. In a way, like the practices that the big guys were doing for the last decades is what inspired the customers to look for something different, right? So I would say like, I don't see them taking a stance or putting themselves in a position to change the industry, unfortunately, because they could speed up a lot the process. But if this is not the case, clearly there's a big opportunity for the new guys to steal market share from, to grow, to get to the volume, as David was mentioning to you, and do it without them. It looks like this is more likely to happen, to be honest.
And Talib, when we're talking about the gigantic brands out there and inspire them to change, yes, but not in 2050. That's our stake as well. What are you doing now? And it's not just about the environment. It's about the partners, the business partners you have. A very interesting conversation I'm having is with many skate shop owners, how they feel that they're being served. And that's a community of 1, 2 door mom and pop that play an enormous role in the community of skateboarding. They provide a wonderful service. Every skater knows which skate shop they went and bought their gear, and how that person influenced their practice of the sport or the gear they chose. And we are really putting our brains to work here to make them serve better, but they have a big pain, and that's from different practices, not only on the environment. It's how to relate with all the people that have built your brand.
You talked about earlier how you don't need to sacrifice comfort or style. What about profit? I mean, are manufacturing costs very high to make shoes like that? And do you think that's part of what's stopping the big brands?
I'll say, of course, few things are going to cost more. There's also a possibility of working smarter, right? Because I think every time that you really care about something, you're going to find a way to get there, right? So it's about like how much you prioritize or not, right? So as an example, if you talk about cotton or BCI cotton or organic cotton, there's a really big difference in price, really big difference. So that's one of the things I would say, like from your question, yes, makes sense. But there's also, if you have the knowledge and the skill and the experience of how to work the design together with the manufacturing and the industrial side, and you always refer back to the design and refer back to to the manufacturing, you could work very smart and make sure that you're not sacrificing margin or anything because of that. I think it's really about caring. To be fair, but I think when you get to the big guys, I would say they are already structured in a way that changing will have an impact in their quarterly results or whatever that people are looking for, that they have to put it out, and there's some pressure and stuff because they came from creating a problem that if they try to solve, is going to have a problem for them on the bottom line, probably, right?
Yeah.
And Talib, there's a very interesting thing that we discuss a lot as well, because the way we approach how to build a sustainable brand is that we can absorb the higher costs that we have because we don't discount. And it's not that we don't discount because we play hardball with anyone. It's not. But it's because how we think of launching products or working with retailers, it's not to obey to a crazy calendar based on anticipation and constant newness, constant product being pushed out there to the market. That you enter a shop in July and the summer products aren't on sale because they launch so early and in such a high quantity that they have to move the product, so they lower the prices. So our way of achieving profitability involves absorbing higher costs, but being able to manage that by selling at full price. That's the work that we see as brand builders.
And, just in terms of consumers, do you think the world's ready for a circular system?
Consumers, I would say, in a general, bigger, a broader way, probably not. And maybe not because they don't want to, but because of the infrastructure necessary to build a whole circular system. Of course, it starts with design, right? You can only get to circularity by design, right? But even though you can, as a company, build this system for yourself, economically, most of the times are not going to be viable yet, exactly because of what you ask. If the big guys help to build that infrastructure or not, and if they don't, the smaller guys have to get bigger to get to a certain scale, where that scale make the whole process, the circular process, viable economically, which in our mind is still a little far away from being feasible.
Sure. And finally, guys, what's next for Cariuma?
I think what's next, our aspiration is to really build a global brand, a household name that represents a choice of a better product, of a better company that is true to its values and incorporates a mission as ours to break through the industry and put out there the best sustainable products while recovering the environment, a reality. That in the short term represents becoming a B corporation in the coming months. That in the short term represents beating our own record as the world's lowest carbon footprint sneaker ever created. And that represents, as I just mentioned, working with thousands of skate shops or boutiques around the world in a very different way, helping the community to prosper, not only us as a brand, but everyone that plays a role in this.
Well, lots to think about here. David and Fernando, thank you so much for coming on the show. We loved having you.
Thank you very much, Talib. We're huge fans of Fast Company, and it's just an honor to be invited to be part of the show.
Thanks, Talib.